what am I going to do with all that energy that I'm biohacking? Like for me, a good example of health is in the fact that your biomarkers are good.
You've got to find examples of people who've been there, done that you can see elements of yourself in so that you can then go and recreate it. And then it becomes like...
That's just the part of that big part of the community is just like, can make you feel lonely, and it make you feel, especially when you're just had a baby, even more isolated. And that just has this insane impact on your mental health, right?
Yeah. But we also get to teach the people around us how we want to be treated.
Oh my God, there's nothing I can say. I felt so exposed. Meanwhile, I have no problems doing stories.
But it's so important to find those people who then you're not always consistently defending or talking around the circles. You're actually moving forwards in the way that you want to, right?
Hi, my name is Aggie, and this is Biohacking Bestie. The one-stop shop for a modern queen, where you can find biohacking courses, self-growth courses, and where you can find the most incredible community of women so you can hit all of your biohacking goals and beyond. Hi besties, and welcome back to Biohacking Bestie, where I have the privilege and the honor to talk to the most inspiring people on the planet. So I am so excited to host Danielle Canty today. Welcome.
Thank you.
Danielle, you're boss babe, literally. Let's talk about how we can bring that energy into nutrition, into biohacking. What's the connection between living our life full of purpose and alignment and just like going after our dreams and biohacking? Like, what's the connection?
Oh my goodness, I love this question. So I have always said you are only ever going to be as successful as you are mentally and physically capable of being. Wow. So let me say that again. You're only going to be as successful as you are mentally and physically capable of being. And that is because, first of all, success does come within. Like you have to recognize when you're successful, and things don't buy happiness. I think it's proven that once you earn more than $70,000 to $80,000 a year, your happiness actually isn't in direct correlation. Like once your basic needs are met, your happiness is not in direct correlation with your money that you're bringing in. And second of all, mindset and understanding, being happy, and hormones and all of these parts really play into what you're able to achieve on the outside. That is like your external energy output. And so for me, my background was chiropractic. Most people know me for building the company BossBabe and then onto my other endeavors. But for me, you are never going to be as successful unless you are mentally on like your purpose, aligned, doing the work, or physical. Like you have to have energy. And I'll definitely share about some of my stories postpartum, because the energy shifts that I've experienced postpartum have been really eye-opening to how important it is to focus on nutrition and exercise and the physical aspects to actually achieve in the material world, if that makes sense.
Okay, I'm so excited. This is going to be so good. Taking a step back, I love that you said that it's the wellness or health is mental and physical. So a lot of times, we're a podcast on nutrition and people think, okay, nutrition, aka health. And nutrition and diet isn't only what we eat, it's what we listen to, the people that we surround ourselves with. So even the fact that the word nutrition is so limiting in a way, because we feel like, oh, this is the things that we put in our mouth instead of, well, what do you put in your head? What do you put into your ears?
That is such a good point. I never thought about it that way, but you're right. And I think that it's so important to cultivate the things that like work for you and really understanding, what it is that you need to, like you say, eat, like how you fuel your body, but then also how you fuel your mind. And for so long, like science is really understood. I feel like there's two kind of forms of science. There's the more like Western world science, where we kind of do randomized controlled trials and we look at placebo effects. And even in that, you will see that if you tell somebody, it doesn't matter if they're taking the actual pill or they're taking the sugar pill, at times they will get the same results. And so that just shows the power of the mind over the physical form.
Yeah, it's called placebo, right?
Yeah, the placebo effect. And so there's that side of it, but then there's also that, okay, well, you can't put gas into a diesel car, right? You also do have to be thinking, what are we ingesting? What are we taking on in our bodies to actually create that, ability to function well, if you think about it that way.
I want to ask you about your diet in a second, but let's go back to your personal story. And how did you go from being chiropractor to basically helping millions of women step into their power and like bringing that energy that was completely lacking those few years, almost a decade ago?
So if I take you back to my school days, I always wanted to help people. I think that was the number one thing. And I remember going to this party and I met some doctors, but they were really miserable. And so I was like, wow, I didn't really want to do that. And my dad is back at the time. And so he started seeing a chiropractor. And the chiropractor was, why don't you come and shadow me? And so I went along and he loved his job. Like he loved helping people. And he was so enthusiastic about it. I was young and impressionable, like 16 years old. So I was like, right, I want to do that. And so I graduated, started to work. I was living in the UK at the time in a place called Bristol. And I loved it.
Bristol's amazing.
Yeah, Bristol's a really cool city. And I really loved it. I loved helping people. I loved, one, first of all, diagnosing people and helping them get the help that they need. And then two, treating people, seeing people walk in and then leave feeling much better. But over a period of time, over probably 6 or 7 years, what I found was I loved being in clinic, but what I found really hard was there was a lack of freedom. And so in 2016, my dad was skiing. We were on a family holiday, we were skiing, and my dad crashed at like 69.8 miles an hour. And he fractured his entire pelvis. He was helicoptered off the mountain. And we had to go to hospital with him. He had to have an operation. And at the end of the week, he did this on like day 3 of a 7-day vacation. And I had to fly home. And I realized at that moment, wow, I have some sort of financial freedom, but I don't really have freedom. Like I don't have the power to choose. And that really sat with me. And I was also feeling like, well, it's great helping one person, but like I want to help more people. Like I want to have a bigger impact. And that kind of just weighed heavy on me for a little while. And it took me, whenever you're creating change, if you think about it this way, if you are in a routine and you carry on doing that routine, you're going to get the same results that you're already getting. And so to create change, you have to do something different. And doing something different is uncomfortable. It's nerve-wracking. You don't know what's going to work. You're rubbish at it normally because you've not done it before. And so I really just sat with like, how do I create change? How do I change my life? But ultimately not knowing how to do that. When you train as a chiropractor or a hairdresser or a teacher or any of these things, you end up with a degree that teaches you to do that one thing. And it's hard to realize that you have transferable skills. And so I kind of sat in this place.
I think so many people relate right now.
Yeah, I sat in this place around like, well, I just trained to be a chiropractor. What else could I do? And I remember talking to my boss at the time and he was like, I was telling him I was ambitious about changing stuff. And he was like, I'm really worried about your ambition. Like, I don't want you to get hurt. And I thought, what a strange thing to say. Like, I was just in a place where I felt weird. I felt like I was an odd person because I wanted to create change. Like everyone was like, well, you've been to school, you've paid this money to become a chiropractor, your life is good, like what are you moaning about? Why do you want more? Why do you want to create change? And I
can relate so much.
Really, really isolated and lonely. It kind of took that skiing accident to really make me think, you know what? If anything is going to change, the only person that's going to be able to create that change is me. And to create that change, I need to do something different. So I can't keep going in the same patterns that I'm going in. I have to change it. And so I started with the book, The Secret. Funnily enough. That was my first introduction into, yes, The Secret is about law of attraction. For those who don't know, it's about manifestation. But that introduction to The Secret was more an opening to personal development for me. I didn't even know who Tony Robbins was. Like I didn't know any of the big personal development gurus or anything. And so I went on that journey around discovering like, oh, wait, number one, you can change your circumstance. And number two, you just have to decide. You don't have to know any of the ways to get there. You don't have to know, okay, I want to get to, step 10. You just have to know the first step. And so the first step for me was reading books. The first step for me was going to seminars. The first step for me was just doing these little things that then started layering upon each other to realize like, oh, actually, now I'm 2 steps in. Now I'm 3 steps into creating that change. And so I think just to kind of like draw it all back around is like the catalyst wasn't that all of a sudden I had this knowing around like, I know I now want to form BossBabe. I want to grow this, big business. I want to move to America because I was still in the UK at this point. I didn't know any of that. And I think that's the biggest misconception. People think that people already have that foresight. I didn't at all. All I knew is that I didn't want to be a chiropractor for the rest of my life because I didn't want to be working a 9 to 5 in a set place, a set time, and have my life governed by 15-minute appointments. I didn't want that. That's all I knew. And so I knew that the gateway was online businesses, and I knew that I could help more people through the online businesses. And so I just did the first steps to leading to that. But was I scared? Yes. Did I know what I was doing? Absolutely not. Was I determined that I would figure it out? Yes, that's all I knew. I was like, well, if I don't quit, then I'm not going to fail. And if such and such can do it, then why can't I? Like, why can I not be also someone who can change it and do something different? So that's the way I went about it.
So amazing. Apart from biohacking courses, I have my like manifestation courses, and a big part of people are like, well, that's completely two different things. Like you should stay to one niche. And for me, it's like, what am I going to do with all that energy that I'm biohacking? Like for me, a good example of health isn't the fact that your biomarkers are good. It's like, how much value do you bring into the world? And like, it's all like a bigger spectrum of wellness. But number one reason that women want to talk to me, they're like, well, how do I live a life that I want? And I'm just like, you don't have to figure it out. It's literally what you just said. It's like, follow your curiosity and just like learning if that's what brings you fun.
I think it's learning. And then you know what I also think is really underplayed? Let's go there. I think women have an amazing intuition. Like, and I'll tell you this quick story.
Oh, it couldn't be long. I love it. No, I think it's just something to listen to all of these stories more and more, because I think we know these things. Like you don't need to listen to me. You can listen obviously to you, but like in general, like you don't need to listen to experts to know what's best for you. It's just we're using you as an example to see like, look, like she's a human being and she is a completely normal person achieving success from a beautiful place, and she's kind. And so all of these stories that we have about successful people, that they're probably mean or they're probably not generous or whatever it is, that's our ego keeping us safe. And then you show up and you basically, it's like almost annoying for these people. I was like, wait, but she's kind and she's loving and she's a great mom. And then you realize, I'm like, wow, I don't really have an excuse anymore, because these excuses are keeping us safe from trying.
Yeah, I think it's excuses, but it's also an upper limit. I think my biggest thing was because I definitely did have money hang up. I remember being a chiropractor and I was earning around 70 to 80,000 pounds a year, which was a lot. That's more than my dad earned, right? Wow. So I was like doing really well. And I had a mentor and he lived out in Dubai, and he said to me, he was like, okay, how much do you want to earn a year? And I was like, oh, okay, like thinking big. And I was like, in my dream life, I want to earn 200,000 pounds a year, which is equivalent to like $300,000.
Yeah.
And that like felt big. Like that literally felt big. And he was
you're
like,
speaking to your mentor, right? So
and then he was like, double it. And I was like, and I remember having this visceral reaction. 400,000 pounds a year. How the F am I ever going to do that? Like, that's not possible for me. Like, my whole body versus expanding curled in. I was like, that's not my path. I'm not able to do that. And I want to highlight that. And if anyone's listening, just pause it and do that test. Write down like how much you want to earn, and then try and double it and see what happens to your body, the visceral reactions you have, and your mind. And what you can realize sometimes is that you need to elevate your thermostat, okay? And it's like people who earn $400,000 a year or 400,000 pounds a year, they won't start quivering until you say 8 or $1 million. Like, and so we all have to recognize that we regulate to certain temperatures, and our goal is, or not even a goal, but I guess like the way that you transcend and grow is by re-regulating to a different temperature. I always say this too about in California, right?
Yeah.
When I lived in the UK, I literally would not put a jacket on unless it was like, and I say a big thick jacket, like maybe like 40 to 50 degrees, right? Because 60 degrees was warm in the UK, or Celsius, let's say like, 18 degrees Celsius is warm in the UK, right? In LA, 18 degrees Celsius or 65 degrees Fahrenheit is cold.
Yeah.
And so it's like you regulate to, your environments that you are in. And so when you start hanging around with people that either are doing different things with their nutrition, or they're biohacking, or they're earning more money, or they're doing something else. This is why the law of averages exists. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you reverse engineer that it's about when you come to like, oh, I could never possibly do that. Well, find examples of why you can. Go find those people who are earning what you want to earn, or doing the things, or looking the way, or exercising the way you want to exercise, whatever that is.
Yeah.
But unless you're around them, it's hard to see it for yourself. It's hard to believe it for yourself. And when you can't see it or believe it, it's hard to create it. And so I think the biggest strategy that anyone can do if they want to change their situation is to find examples, which is why representation at the top is so important. You've got to find examples of people who've been there, done that you can see elements of yourself in, so that you can then go and recreate it. And then it becomes like, it's not necessarily, because I think the excuse is because you don't realize it's possible for you. So versus going like, okay, I don't want to do it, or I can't do it, go, okay, let me find some examples of people that can do it. I have similarities to them. Maybe it's background, maybe it's like experience, whatever that is. And so therefore, if they can do it, I can do it. But I will tell you, unless you start saying to yourself that you can do it, you won't be able to do it, because what you say you are, you are.
Yeah.
And I think it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you say to yourself, I'm never going to be able to lose weight, or I'm never going to be able to earn more money, or I'm never going to be able to be friends, or I'm never going to be able to move, you are probably never going to be able to do it. Because the thing that happened to me when my mentor said to me, he was like, okay, £400,000, right? He said that to me in August. And I couldn't have earned £400,000 being a chiropractor. And so I realized, okay, if I want to earn £400,000, I have to think differently. I have to think bigger. And that's what led me into online. That was the August. The September, I met my business partner, who became my business partner, Natalie, at BossBabe. And then we founded BossBabe in the February. So my life completely changed in 6 months. And guess what I earned the following year?
Yeah,
so
that literally was my question.
Like, I basically earned £400,000.
Wow.
And so I'm not saying that was not without blood, sweat, and tears. Of course it was. But it gave me the avenue to see down a different route, to look at my life differently, to take different actions, to go on a different path that I wasn't already on. And so I think that's just my permission for anybody listening to this who wants to create the change is, one, you absolutely can. I am not special. I am not the smartest person in every room that I walk into. Like, no.
I hope not, because then you're in the wrong room.
Exactly, right? Exactly. No, but I just showed up with the ability of like, I can do this. And if I can't do it right now, I'm going to figure out a way that it's going to be possible for me. And when you put your mind to something like that, that's when things start shifting, you start creating, you start going on that journey. And sometimes people say the universe starts conspiring for you, you know?
Oh, 100%. What is your number right now? What's like the glass ceiling number that you feel like, is there a number that you would like still scares you financially?
Oh my gosh. It's funny because it's we're recording this just as we're coming up to Lionsgate Portal, and I have a manifestation I planned with my friends, because since I had a baby end of December, so I'm 7 months postpartum, and I found it really hard to decide what I want. And I'm actually in this space of, it's not that I'm working towards a number right now. I'm working to being like present, and then attracting from that point of being present and bringing things through me. But ask me after Thursday, because that's what I'm going to dive into, because I've not done a full like manifestation session for myself since when I was pregnant. And I think it's because like when you are pregnant, and well, for me anyway, I left my company 18 days later, found out I was pregnant. I felt like my whole life got turned upside down. And I was just like,
okay, cool, I get to relax. Oh wait, I'm pregnant now.
And for the first time ever, I didn't know what I wanted to manifest. I mean, I did say I wanted a house, and then I found a house. So I say that, my friends are like, you've done loads. But if we're talking about that like big, audacious, hairy goal, I'm going to find mine on Thursday. I've set time aside for it, because I'm like, okay, like what does this new version of me look like? And I think that's the other beautiful thing about all of this. It's like, we always get to reinvent ourselves. Like, you know, it's always important to be like, you know, the person that got you here, we change. And people are like, oh, like people don't change. Yes, they do change. People absolutely change. And you should recognize that you change. Like the person you are, you know, a year ago, 5 years ago, is probably not who you are today, because your experiences shape you. And it's okay, and it's a good thing to allow that to happen. And so how can you, on your journey, be someone who's like, oh, you know what? Like I have changed, and now I haven't not been someone that has traditionally watched the nutrition, but I'm learning that about now. Like that's a good thing. And so really just kind of establishing by what you want. What I do know I want though, I will say this, what I do know what I want is, obviously we both live in Los Angeles. I really want a home, which we're probably looking around the $8 million and up mark, with a pool that every Sunday I just have an open house. I want to just have food out. Anyone can drop in, hang in the pool.
Oh my God,
like,
I feel like
that,
we just became best friends, because I literally, what I said to Jacob, I was like, that would be our biggest dream. Like we just hosted friends on Saturday, and I was just like, I just want people to be able to like come into the house, and like even right now we just invited friends to work upstairs. So when you come up, you'll see some people working, because I was just like, I just want that even energy at my home, like people are working and feeling, because I know when I first came to LA, I didn't have that place, and it would be amazing to go to someone's house who's like, has a decent like view or the pool, and be able to like work and feel that energy, and it helps me as well.
You know what my biggest compliment is when someone comes to my house? If they help themselves to things. If like I have friends that come around to my house and go to my fridge or go to my cupboards or whatever, I'm like, I'm a good host because they feel comfortable.
Yeah.
To rummage through my things.
Yeah.
But that's like, so I think
that's
I'm
a
more
European in us.
Yeah.
I think it's a very different like.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And like I think my family back home, they drop into each other's house unannounced all the time.
Yeah.
And obviously we don't have family here. So if like your friends
and I really miss
family,
it.
I know, me too.
We spend every summer in Europe, and it's just like, oh, it's just so nice. They're just like, I'm coming over. Even my friends in Europe, they're very much more like, I'm just coming over to your parents to say hi. And I'm like, this would never happen in America. We would have to be like, what are you guys doing this week? Let's schedule a day. Like, schedule. I'm like, I hate that about LA. It's just like, I'm like, hey, what are you doing tonight? I'm busy this week, but let's do like in 2 weeks at 11 a.m. on a Thursday. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to feel.
Do you know what I have started doing with my friends is cultivating impromptu meetups. So like we have this group and it's like permission just to like send a text. And we want to do a walk tonight. Because that I too feel I miss that.
So
like,
want to join that group.
I don't want to be like scheduling things out all the time.
Because I don't know how I feel. And like on a Tuesday, like even yesterday, I was like, I want to go for a walk. And I'm like, oh, I just want to like, I want to just like hang out and go for a walk. And that's just the part of that big part of the community is just like, can make you feel lonely, and it make you feel, especially when you're just had a baby, even more isolated. And that just has this insane impact on your mental health, right?
Yeah.
So,
and I think I'm like, that's the thing about me. I'm like such a believer in like, okay, if I don't like something, like how can I change it? So that was like why I was like, you know, introduced it to my friends, was like, let's just have an impromptu thing, like permission to anyone text on the day, just be like, is anyone free at 4? Like, what do we all, like, anyone want to go for a hike? Like, and just have that kind of, you know, spontaneous, you know, or you could be the gym or coffee or whatever that is.
Because it keeps you young, right? The spontaneity that we used to have as children, that we kind of like, we grow old because we just plan so many things in advance. And then LA is known for being flaky. But I think it's like, not that it's flaky, I think it's just like, if you schedule something so well in advance, it's really hard to feel like you want to keep doing I don't know how I'm going to feel about a hike in 3 weeks. Maybe I'm going to have a bad night's sleep and it's not going to feel right. Yeah. Anyways, that was a
little alley segue.
I want to go back to women and to your story. And, you know, BossBabe was incredible branding, right? Like, and it's this whole energy vibration of like, you're the freaking queen of your life, and you the boss. And how has that like energy vibration changed for you, especially? Like, do you feel like, do you still resonate with the BossBabe energy, or do you feel like, you know, that you had a baby, you feel slightly different? Like, what is like energetically? Because I think it's like, not that it's no longer valid. It's just like, I think we all go through these like beautiful
ebbs and flows of it. Yeah. Okay, so story time again. When I was a chiropractor, and I was actually with my partner, we met when I was 18 and we were together for 14 years because I was actually married before. I'm now divorced and I'm with my other partner, my baby daddy. But when I was with my ex, he was a chiropractor too. And I was definitely in like what I would say is like my boss era, like very masculine energy, like hustling, like building the businesses, like all of those things. Like, you know, I knew that I wanted to create that change and I went after it. I moved to LA and did all these things. And I actually you probably know it's like very difficult to get diagnosed, but I suffered from polycystic ovarian syndrome. So it wasn't officially diagnosed, but I went to the doctors. They're like, okay, we're not going to put a stamp on it, but it looks like this. You have a collection of these symptoms. And I did Accutane for my skin because I had such bad acne.
Same.
Like, it was horrendous. I'm sharing this story because I believe in masculine and feminine energy. I don't believe that men just have masculine energy and women just have feminine energy. I think that each of us have both. And it's important if we think about masculine energy being like the box, and then feminine energy is very, very flowy. And in my relationship, I didn't really feel like I had a space to be feminine. And I think the combination of not really feeling ever that I had the space to be feminine, because I was the one who organized everything. I did everything from the business to being the breadwinner, to organizing the house finances, to booking dinner reservations, to vacate, like everything. Like it was very like just in my masculine all the time. I always felt safe in my relationship, but I don't know if I felt like, it wasn't a toxic relationship, but I don't know if I actually felt like, someone's taking care of me. And that led to hormonal imbalances. You know, I think
I love that you make that connection, because I think it's very much like, you know, you're in the constant fight or flight for women. I don't think if we're naturally, you know, and that's like for trans people, like there's no rule. Like I know women that are naturally in feminine bodies, but mostly masculine energy, and they attract like feminine men and whatever. But I think it's just most women tend to thrive in the feminine energy for when they were in their relationships, right? And I think it's like beautiful that we get to switch between both. But if you're stuck in the masculine, it just feels like there's no break.
Yeah, exactly. And I was stuck there, and there was no break. And so basically in 2021, so I've been hustling, but like BossBabe was at its peak. I decided that, you know, we'd done therapy and stuff, but this relationship was not the right relationship for either of us, honestly. Like it really wasn't. I felt like I was just very probably challenging for him because I was very driven, and he was much more content and didn't really like change. And then I'm like, you know, like, let's move to LA and do all these things. Yeah. And so I just, you know, we separated, and then I entered the dating scene, and I met my now partner.
What's his name?
And his name's Darius. And he has such a beautiful balance of masculine and feminine energy. And I felt held. And I remember the first time I was like, I knew that he was really, really like special, because it was my birthday in August, and he invited me to New York. He's from New York. He was from Trinidad and then New York. And he was like, okay, come to New York. He took care of everything. He booked the hotel, and then he sent me invites for every day, like, hey, we're going to dinner, wear sneakers. This is casual dinner, wear sneakers and a cute dress. This day, dress up, wear heels. And that energy of being taken care of.
These men exist, ladies.
Yeah, I was just like, wow. And I am not joking. Within the space of like 4, 5, 6 months, my periods became regular. I lost so much weight, just not even doing anything different. My skin cleared up, like all of these things. And I realized, and I'm sharing this because of your question around like the energy, right? I realized that then I had a place to be feminine. Like I had a feminine place. And I think that whether you're single or in a relationship, like work out how you can cultivate that, because I was not aware of masculine and feminine energy before that. I wasn't aware that I was in masculine energy all the time. And so really going through this transformation made me realize where it's really important for me. Like I can be a breadwinner and be all these things and be a boss in work, but I also have to have a place where I get to express my energy, like feminine energy. And for me, I don't fill my car up with gas. It makes me feel more feminine if he does that for me. I don't book reservations.
What is it about the gas?
I hate it. Like with a passion. Like I hate it. But like I don't book dinner reservations.
I should go to Tesla so I don't have to fill up. And I was just like, I just lease, but I still don't plug it in.
You're like, Jacob, plug it in. It's a man's job. But like people, and I 100% am about, it's not about being about equality for men and women. It's about having choice and also for choosing what works for you. So I think women can be absolute bosses in business. And like you say, different women work differently with different balances of energy. But for me, I realized that I could not be 90% masculine and 10% feminine. I probably do have a little bit more masculine energy. I'm a Virgo. I'm very like organized and grounded. So I'm probably verging on like maybe 65% masculine and then the rest feminine. But it is really important for me that I get that space to be like not thinking about being organized, to be taken care of. And, you know, when we spoke about talking about nutrition around being not just what you consume, but what you have, like you put into your listen to and all those different elements, I think a big part of, you know, what helped heal me and how I reach better and higher performance was reorganizing that balance for me around like what that felt and looked like. And I had a baby, so the polycystic ovaries did not hold anything back.
Wow. It's such an inspiring story, and I think it's just like super beautiful. For other women listening right now, I'm just like, wow, like isn't it like the connection between the nervous system, the autonomic nervous system, so ultimately being in constant fight or flight, and how it overrides your hormones and your mindset is something I definitely believe in. I want to take a step, two things. So let's maybe start while we're on it. For all those women listening with feminine men that don't necessarily take the initiative. There's two sides of the story. One is like those men tend to enjoy being taken care of, right? So like the mommy syndrome of like a little bit like, oh, I kind of like that when she's in charge, like, right? Because it's convenient. And also the shadow of you as a woman, it's like, well, if I'm in charge, then, you know, I don't feel safe. So I need to be in control because I don't feel safe, right? And so you claim control because you feel like it doesn't feel safe to trust you because I don't feel like I can trust you. And I think it's very relatable to a lot of women where we don't feel like it's safe for us to let go in that particular relationship because there's no one there to hold us. And Virgo, type A personality, that's just definitely something that I just like, you know, I'm like, you know, quite intense to live with, right? Because it's just like, want to excel in everything that I do. Is the only way out a divorce or a breakup? Or how would you say you can cultivate that energy so that you can encourage and maybe even give men the space so they can step into their power? Because that's really hard.
Yeah, I think everyone's situation, first of all, is different. Like, I'm not here like advocating, yes, if your partner is too feminine, like divorce, no, not at all.
That's not the takeaway.
That's not the takeaway of the conversation. I think that just my personal situation was we met when I was 18, he was 21. We were very, very different people. And I do believe that people come into your life for seasons. We didn't have children together. And ultimately it was like really apparent. Like we did therapy, we did all those things. And it was just the right decision for us. Had we had kids together, would we have divorced? I don't know, right?
Yeah.
But we didn't. And so the situation to move apart was much cleaner and easier. What I will say though is I think that relationships are always about 50-50. I also think that all relationships have challenges. Like if ever you speak to somebody who says they have the perfect relationship, they're lying. Like relationships, you're not the same person. You are different people. And so there's always going to be a different opinion, a different, you know, way of looking at things. And that's okay. And then I think it's about understanding good, clear communication. And so Darius and I have worked really, really hard. I'll tell you this because I share this on my stories and people still DM. I shared it like twice and people still DM me about it. We really wanted to have good communication together. And so every single morning we have a little chalkboard and we write numbers on it. So it goes up to 10 and you have to write a number on how good you are feeling that day. And so 10 would be like, I am powerful, I feel great, I feel on top of the world, I feel happy, I feel like awesome, I have loads of energy, like I am firing on all cylinders. And, you know, 5 might be like, I feel meh today, like I'm not feeling that great, I'm okay, I'm not super sad. And then obviously below a 5 is like, you know, you're really struggling at that point. And the reason we do this is because it's not anyone's job to feel great all the time. Like if we expect ourselves to feel happy all the time, like it's just unrealistic and we get to honor our emotions. But what this does cultivate is whoever is on the lower end of the scale shares that, they don't need to say anything about it, but the other person knows, you know what, I'm at an 8 and they're at a 4 today. Let me step in and help them. Let me go and do that kind thing, which might be taking them a coffee in bed, or, making sure I've like tidied around because I know they like that, or let me go, whatever that, make them lunch, whatever that is. But it's that like understanding that we're in a relationship and we get to support each other. And so I think when you have systems like that in place, it allows people to step up. It allows somebody, because like you say, we get to define what masculine and feminine looks like, but we also get to teach the people around us how we want to be treated. So if I'm like, hey, Aggie, like if you see that like we live together and I'm at a 5, and my favorite things are having my coffee made in the morning, or it really stresses me out when my like living space is really like messy and you just tidied things around a little bit, or XYZ, you're going to feel taken care of. Yeah. So it doesn't really matter. Like that's a very masculine energy,
yes,
right?
Acts of service kind of girl.
Acts of service or gifts, but really like it's the taking care, which I think is like, it can be argued it's feminine. It can also be argued as masculine, but either way, it feels like someone is doing something or thinking about you, which I think allows most people to then kind of fall back into feminine way of feeling relaxed and feeling supported. And so I think that's first and foremost is like cultivating systems that allow you to be supported by your partner, or you to support them. The second thing that I feel like I've done since, by the way, I sound like I'm a relationship guru. I'm not. I'm still having my own challenges in relationships, by the way, but I'm just sharing some things that like I feel have really worked for us.
Yeah, and help you relax your nervous system. I think this is huge, right? Because someone who had felt very happy in a relationship and loving your husband, but feeling like they can never relax and having all of these health issues, to now being able to like bring it back to this like, okay, something about this relationship and the way we do things in this relationship has brought me peace. And here's what we do. I think that's like, I'm like,
and to articulate it. Like I also realized for a long time with my previous marriage, I didn't know what made me happy. So I never really articulated to him or taught him how to make me happy. And so with my relationship with Darius, I was always very clear. I realized I got to know myself. And so I think you can teach people to do the things that make you happy and vice versa. If they're willing, then stay in that relationship. Obviously, if they're not willing, they don't care about your happiness, then maybe that is a conversation that is this relationship the right relationship? But that was what I found was good. And then the other thing, which I think is like, if in business, when you have teams or if you have children, whatever that looks like, I really realized that Darius's way of doing things is different to mine, and that is okay. Like we have a baby together, bath time looks different for either of us. My bath time is like, we're getting ready for bed, there's like relaxing music on, we're calming down. Darius's bath time is like a performance. There is singing, there is dancing, it's like a festival in there. And I'm like, this child gonna sleep after this? But it's not my place to tell him, because if I take away his autonomy to do things his way, the result's the same. Romeo, our baby, still goes to bed at the same time. Like, so
and he falls asleep both ways.
Yeah, he falls asleep both ways. So like, why am I trying to dictate the route that Darius takes to get there? It can be different to mine, and that is okay.
I think a lot of women can like probably nod their heads and they feel like our way is the right way, especially around kids. I don't have kids, but I keep hearing it, that it's like women feel like you need to.
Yeah, you have to let go. And I think that, again, is the difference between masculine and feminine energy. Like, you're trying to be in the masculine, controlling every single thing, versus being in the feminine, which is like, let it go.
Yeah.
Like, if he wants to bath that way and Romeo loves it and he loves it, let them enjoy it. I don't, like, that doesn't need to be my route or way of doing it, because I like my bath time. Calm.
And also, I get so scared. It's not like a good example, but obviously the way Jacob treats our dog, Peanut Butter.
Dogs are great examples.
Yeah, because it's like, I'm like, Peanut, mommy's gonna snuggle you, da-da-da. And Jacob comes and like grabs him. It's like, oh my God, like, what are you doing? And Peanut like loves it. And I'm like, why are you, like, no, you cannot be so rough with him. And Peanut clearly loves it. I would never be this rough with him, and somehow they need both, right?
Yeah, they need both. There's actually research with children that like they'll come to mothers for more nurturing hugs and kisses, but actually rough play with dads is really important to regulate their nervous system.
Yeah, because then Peanut hits himself while rough playing, runs to me crying, gets a little like pat on the back, and he runs back to like play with Chicken. I'm like, great, I'm just here for the like quick snuggles. And it's like, okay, I feel good, bye mom. Like,
But it's the appreciation that we all have different ways of doing things, and all can be joyous and all can work. And how can we let go of the things that we don't? If the result is that Peanut's still happy at the end of the day, what does it matter?
Yeah.
Right?
Beautiful. For those of you who, those who are listening right now, don't really know your story and the scale of your success, how would you explain what BossBabe was?
We founded BossBabe, and I'll just give a high level. We founded BossBabe in 2018. And really there were no women-led groups at that point. Like I was lonely as an ambitious woman. As a chiropractor, spoke about like the ambition there. I was lonely. That's why we founded BossBabe, because me and Natalie were like, wait, you're lonely too? I'm lonely. Okay, let's like form something around this. And then we formed the largest community online for female entrepreneurs. And that's how it grew. So it was like 3.5 million on Instagram, we had a podcast, blog, like all of those things. And then in last year, 2023, I'm doing the business for 5 years, had such huge success. It becomes to a point where you have to reset the vision. And I think for me, my vision was different to Natalie's vision. I really wanted it to be a brand for all women, no matter where they live, what they look like, any of those things. And I wanted to scale it. I kind of wanted it to be like more like the L, you know, another brand like L. And Natalie wanted more like a lifestyle business, like a different way of doing things. And neither's right nor wrong. They're just different. Yeah. And so I had already started thinking about co-founding a software company with Amy, who I'd met alongside my journey at BossBabe, because I really believe in the power of community. And I noticed for anyone who has business or anyone who's bought online courses, there's like Kajabi, there's Circle, like what they're hosted on. And I felt like there wasn't a good one. Like I had so many issues. And so I was like, well, okay, like software is a great business model. It's really scalable. So let me like build that. And then let me support people building memberships and communities along the way. So now I technically have 2 businesses. I have MemberUp, which is like a software company. And then I teach people how to create, passive and active income from building memberships and bringing people together. Because I think also where we're at when building BossBabe was like that wave of social media, like Instagram really taking off, and obviously it still is, but like it was like the hockey stick growth curve that we hit. And realizing that, yes, it's amazing having big audience, but ultimately people do still crave community. They crave finding like-minded people. They crave the pockets of people that align with them. And how could we cultivate that and allow that? Because, not to get too technical, but who's on Facebook anymore? We built like a lot of those communities were like built very much on Facebook, whereas most people our age, particularly the millennial audience, we're not going on Facebook that much. No. And so what could we do there? And so that's kind of what, the experience. And that's what I mean by, if you had sat me down in 2016 and asked me what was going to happen in my life, I would not have told you I was going to America. I would not have told you I was building BossBabe into what it was. I would not tell you I was going to leave and found a SaaS company. I would not tell you I was going to be teaching people how to do memberships. And so anyone listening to this, you don't have to know 10 steps down the road. You literally just have to know step 1. That is it.
Yeah. And I love that 2016 wasn't that long ago. And imagine, people underestimate what you can do in a decade. I think Tony Robbins says that. Yeah,
Tony Robbins says.
That you underestimate, because it's like how exciting in the next decade might be, right? If you just keep that mindset. Yeah, like
I've known people built like over a decade, they got like $1 billion company. Like they've completely gone from poverty to obscene amount of wealth. Like,
and like, I'm here to like root for them because I think it's just super inspiring. But with like what you just said about, when we go back to membership and community, I have over 1 million followers and I have a small community. So maybe I can like help you use your expertise to build it more. The funny thing is, TikTok, 700,000, 1.1 on Instagram. And then I have my community and we do these community calls every 2 weeks where I speak to them, and seeing someone's face and having a conversation with a human being on a call. Like I had one yesterday. It's just the most rewarding thing ever. I was so terrified of doing these community calls. Like we started in 2022. I was like, oh my God, there's nothing I can say. I felt so exposed. Meanwhile, I have no problems doing stories. So I did these first calls.
I was the opposite.
I go on these calls and I feel like I get recharged for days just talking to real women, and like I'm learning so much, and we're having this conversation and sharing our wins, and I'm like, it's so underrated, and people often think like, oh, I'll see you on Instagram, so it doesn't, why would I do a community with you? And I'm like, you just don't understand like what like beautiful intimate setting and having those calls
Also,
is.
I love how much you light up talking about this. Like that is like true passion, because
but that's why
just
like I can be your like spokesperson for why communities are so important, because I just think it's like we can really like for sure you can follow someone on Instagram and follow their advice, but unless you join their community and just have that support of other women that are going through the same, it's just like it's so underrated.
Well, it's like you're seen, when you're in communities, you're seen and heard on a different level. And I think that's also the big thing around, like, if you are trying to change the average, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? And so maybe some people relate to this. I love my school friends, but I have very little in common with them anymore, right?
Yeah.
And so what I found was like, I didn't have anyone who was interested in biohacking, who was interested in entrepreneurship. Like my best friends were a lawyer and a doctor. They thought I was like, it's like a terminology in the UK, like batshit. We say batshit crazy. Excuse my swearing. They think that was crazy. They like lost my mind when I was leaving chiropractic to go and start my business. And so I think what the power of community is, okay, now you're in a room and you're getting to ask questions, or you're getting to see other women. They might be all shapes and all sizes, all on different parts of their journey. And they're here like, yeah, I tried that over here. This worked. This water worked for me. This didn't work for me. This nutritional path helped me. But like hearing other people's stories with the same goal in mind, when you can get in like, it's almost like a flowing river. Like if you can get in the flow of the stream, it's so much easier. And I think that's what communities do, is they accelerate you forwards, because you cut out the noise, you cut out the naysayers. Everyone has a common goal in mind. Most communities are built on a value system. That's what brings people together, is like values. And so a value might be being our best selves. Our value might be being our best selves and building a business. A value might be bringing up the kids a certain way, whatever that is. But it's so important to find those people who then you're not always consistently defending or talking around the circles. You're actually moving forwards in the way that you want to, right? And so I think that's like the power of bringing people together, is it perpetuates your growth. You learn more quicker. And yeah, I'm a big advocate for communities and how they change people's situations, because no one has to stay exactly where they are.
And I think they're just so underestimated. I think the number one reason that made it so hard for me to progress was like feeling lonely and feeling like an outsider and feeling like I have to do it all alone. And I think in community, you find people that can support and exchange. And I think men are exceptional at this. I think we women still are very much to our own. But I think men in my community are like, let's meet up. How can I help you? How can I serve you? What else can I do for you? Like, it's amazing how they're like immediately, this is your skill set. Like, I'm so lucky. It was like, I would love to learn this specific thing from you. Like they said, very direct, but I can teach you this because I think this is what you're lacking. And I think this is, you're missing out on an opportunity. I was like, wow, this is the beauty of a community, that is just like, we're not meant to have all the talents in the world, but if you bring your community together, all of a sudden you can build it all. It doesn't mean you have to build a business with your friends. I think it's a mistake, but it's, you can exchange information, because ultimately, which I think it's, again, here's my spiritual, like, approach of like, if I can help somebody build something beautiful that has a beautiful impact, that like spiritually elevates me as a soul, right? Because I was part of elevating the consciousness of the planet or making people feel good. You mentioned that you're going to go through a manifestation process, because you're like, I don't know what like my big number is, with 100 million, 200 million, whatever. But if you're going to sit down today, tomorrow, before Thursday, what is that process going to look like for you?
Oh, I can tell you what, we actually, okay, true Virgo, I have a whole itinerary.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because it's Lionsgate, it's like very, like they always say like Lionsgate portal is like a very great time to manifest. I don't know all the astrology pieces, but something about Cyrus and a position, and it's like, anyway,
I can't help you.
It's like even if it is or isn't true, it's about the placebo of it either. It's like what you believe, right? And so I was like, this is a great time. So First of all, I'm doing it with a few friends. We're going to do a little breath work initially, because breath work really just kind of like drops you into your body and really kind of opens everything up. Right? I don't know if you talk much about breathing, but just like, so many women are like chest breathers that don't actually use the diaphragm. And so just
because
really
we're sucking in our bellies all the time because we're scared of looking fat.
And so just really like channeling our breath and just releasing any blockages and just getting in the body. And then we're going to do a meditation, which drops us into the heart chakra. And I think this is the biggest. I found myself in a place since having a baby where I think probably because you end up going more into the feminine energy too, it's not really about a number anymore for me. It's more like a feeling. Like these are things that I want to feel, embody, and be.
Because like who gives it?
Yeah. No, exactly.
We have $40 million and you're miserable. Like,
it doesn't matter.
And as long as you're a certain level, like it doesn't really matter how much money, it's just how you're going to feel.
And that's been proven to me over and over again when I've met people with like obscene amounts of wealth. I'm like, that doesn't make them happy. Like it really doesn't.
And their life is not that different.
No. Wow. Some of
them. Well, but I think
it's not always in a good way.
Yeah.
Like I personally would I've had friends who are like pretty famous and then they have all these like photographers. I would hate that. I would hate to have me papped at my dinner. Like, no, thank you.
Or having someone in front of your home, right?
Yeah, this is not the energy I want. But I think really it's about, so we'll do the meditation, really getting aligned with like, and I always talked about this because I met Darius really quickly after I got divorced. And my friend's like, how come you didn't, he was actually the first date I went on in Hinge. And everyone was like, how did you hit the jackpot? And I always say it's because I never focused on what he looked like or like who my partner was. I journaled how I wanted to feel. I journaled how I wanted to feel in a relationship. And I wrote down, I want to feel adored. I want to be able to feel feminine. I want to feel like I'm being taken care of. And like those were all the things that I called in. And when I went on other dates after I met him, I realized that, he was the one that fulfilled all of these things. And so I say that even with manifestation. So what I do then, we'll do like a meditation, breathwork, a little 10-minute meditation, and then journal prompts. I actually have a goal setting freebie, actually. I should give it to you guys. But I do this and it's like a recorded one. Like you mark down like where you do kind of like a circle of life chart. So you kind of say like where you are out of, because what you track grows, right? So where you are on finances, health, house, career, and out of 10. And then kind of journal about how you want to improve those points during this year. Okay. So if you're like, hey, for me, my health is a 5, then you can kind of say like, well, how do I want to feel in my health? So it talks you kind of through, well, I want to feel like I wake up with energy every single morning. Like I want to feel that my confident in my skin because it no longer has acne. I want to feel this, and this, right? And so if you embody how you feel, then when it comes to, okay, well, this is how I want to feel, this is what I'm working towards, what are some practical tips and things that I could do? Remember I spoke about those steps forward? What are some things that I could do? Well, first thing is I could probably let me drink water when I wake up versus my coffee, right? Let me go to bed and have 8 hours sleep. Let me start tracking my sleep again. Like whatever those things are, you don't have to be like, all of a sudden I want to go to the gym 7 times, like days a week. No, okay, I'm just going to wherever you're at, that just means like, okay, I want to have 1 less takeout. It doesn't matter where we're all starting, but it's just like understanding those steps forwards. And so that's what we're going to be doing is like, first of all, writing down how we want to feel and where we're at, and then kind of coming out on that and doing some practical things around like, okay, what is stuff? So for me, being totally honest, postpartum has been like, it's been fine, but I've really like forgotten to look after myself in the sense of like a lot, like I've not been exercising regularly. I've not been doing my meditations. Like now I get woken up by a baby at 6:30 and then I've like literally lost any like, so how can I reset the things that I know help my mind? I had terrible brain fog after having a baby. Terrible. Like, and that's obviously a bit of hormones as well, but how can I do the things that bring me back to waking up and feeling energized and feeling like I can function, I can think, and all those pieces. And so for me, I'm not going to be writing down, I want to go to a gym 7 days a week. That's not going to be my goal. My goal is like, okay, I want to just start walking and walk with Romeo every day at 4 o'clock. like that's my first step. So it's just all about taking those next steps. So I'll maybe we can like share it in the notes. So it's like a little recording. It's just like
please,
goals.
we're
I'll share
happy
it
to
in
link
the notes. And it's a little like 60-minute training that people do alongside me that is probably helpful.
100%. I think, thank you for sharing so vulnerably about like your journey as well, because I think a lot of women can definitely relate that like it's not going to be just the most beautiful, amazing experience. It can be both beautiful and challenging, which I think is super important.
Easy and hard.
Easy and hard. And, you know, in Chinese medicine, they say that like as a woman, all you have to do is constantly feed yourself, you know, with nutrition even before the pregnancy, because if you don't, then it really, really depletes you.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of women come into pregnancy. I probably would be one of them, from a depleted space, because we're just kind of like rushing. So giving birth is like giving chi, like you give life. And if you're depleted of life, then you completely feel depleted, right? And how can you have boundaries?
And you know what people never talk about is how taxing breastfeeding is on the body. No one talks about that. There is so much shame around breastfeeding online. Like I go on posts and I just see women hating on women, and it just makes me so sad, because it is so energy like you are giving more energy again, and no one talks about that. And to be able to give energy, you have to have energy. And so if you don't have energy, it is literally like taking the life force out of you.
I mean,
how
right?
Can you, how can you replenish it? But I think that all of that again just comes back to, you know, we're all here doing the best we can. It doesn't matter where you're starting from. No one's place is better than anyone else's. It's just like, hey, like I want to feel like this in my life. Like I want to have these thoughts, these feelings, and I want to create those actions. So first of all, what is the first step in that? And just know wherever you are is like exactly where you're meant to be.
Wow, so powerful. Where can people find you? Apart from doing the free training that we're going to link up, where can people find you?
I would say I'm probably most active on Instagram and LinkedIn. So Danielle Canty, so DanielleCanty. Then I have a little website with some resources on. They tend to be a little bit more marketing focused, except the goals one. But that's just Danielle-Canty.com. You can find some stuff there too.
And somewhere around LA doing walks with Romeo at 4
p.m. Running normally.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much for coming. So good that we connected, because I heard so many great things about you. So thank you. And thank you guys for listening.